Would like to welcome you to the Country Place Show. Today I'd like to talk about some plants here we still have in the greenhouse, and also go on and talk a little bit about trees. Right here we have some caladiums. I think caladiums are a good plant for the shade, and they're quite colorful, as you can see all the way down through the bench. And we got them in a 4-inch pot, and they're $2 a piece, and that's a real good price on them. Some of them are still coming up, and you can pick up the ones that have come up quite well. This one has come up, it's got 3-4 starts on it, and I think you would have an enjoyable experience with them, especially if you have a shade area. They will not take sun, so keep that in mind. In one of the previous shows, I talked about a Macho Fern, and here's the one in a basket. Now that's $13.50, but you can see it's a monster, and it will grow quite large. It's a little coarser than a regular fern, but it is a real dandy as far as growing, but it will not take the hot sun. You got to keep that in mind. It's not a sun type fern. Okay, one thing we also have is a lot of good patio pots. We have sun impatiens. These are not regular New Guinea impatiens. These are called sun impatiens, the one at the far end here. And they do real good. As it says, they're sun or shade, and they do very well. Of course, if you put them on the sun, they're going to require a little bit more water, so you have to keep that in mind. It's always good to water an impatient in the morning rather than at night, because you might come home and the little thing might be laying over flat as a flitter. They will come back, but it's better to go ahead and be prepared, especially with our summers the way they are. They're getting a little hotter. We got some dragon wing begonias here. Now they do well, and again, I've used them where they get probably about 70% sun, 60 to 70% sun, and they do very well. And they'll get quite large, and they're really a nice plant. Now over here, right behind us here, over here we have some calabacoas, and these are kind of a neat little plant. And you have to watch, you don't want to overwater them. Yet again, you want to keep them watered up good. And they do need fertilizer. That Osmocote I talked about would do very well. A couple tablespoons or even 1 tablespoon per pot would really do well in keeping them growing and vigorous and all. Now we'll move out to the trees and shrubs. We have a lot of things out here in the shrubs and different accent plants. We have the monkey grass. It's called liriope really, but most people call it monkey grass, and that does very well. It does survive through the winter, and it grows about 10 to 12, 14 inches tall, and it's really an excellent plant to put around your area of shrubs. We also have next is the limelight hydrangea. Now the limelight hydrangea, as far as hydrangeas go, I think are one of the better ones. Limelight, and then we have some bobo over inside, then we have another pink one. But these types of hydrangeas start blooming about midsummer, and they have great big white or pink or fluffy blooms on it. Now the limelight will get about 5 foot tall, the bobo's about 3 foot tall. So you have to keep that in mind when you're scheduling your flowering, or your planting, that is. But they are real good. Something that survives the winter here, and you can cut them back every year, and they come back out because they always flower on the new wood. Now over here we have some, looking at it, you have to kind of look down in, we have some hostas. Now hostas can grow, we've had these out in full sun, but more than likely they like the shade a little bit. But that's one type of hosta that will do fairly well in the full sun right now. Now come midsummer, it might be a little hotter on it, and that might pose a problem. We have here some drift roses right here. Now the drift roses come in some different colors, but this is a coral color, and that's a low shrub growing rose that has its place within the landscape. It's not quite as predominant as the knockout roses, which we have over here. The knockouts, of course, have been used for the last several years and we have the pink knockout, and we have some red knockouts, and they are always really a good plant to have. I think overall people have pretty good luck with them. Sometimes spider mites, which causes a problem from other roses, it gives them a disease, but in actuality I think you see overall they survive quite well. And then up here we have a lot of different shrubs and trees. We have Little Miss Kim, which is a lilac. Now that hasn't started to bloom yet, but it'll have a real purplish looking bloom on it, and it'll be quite fragrant. Actually, I don't sell many of them when they're like this. I sell them when they start blooming. When people come in here and they smell them, then they just gotta have them. And that's one thing that does sell them very well. As soon as they quit blooming, then I don't sell them hardly at all anymore. The pencil holly is right behind them. The pencil holly is a good plant for the accent plant, and that will grow, it's kind of slow growing, and you can trim it, and I've seen some people, you know, have them for several years that don't get really, really big. Ultimately, if you don't trim it, I guess they'll go to about 7 foot and about 3 foot wide. But that takes a long time, and you can trim it to do whatever you want to do. We have some other roses here, some regular climbers and tea roses. They seem to be coming back a little bit more in favor, but they still don't measure up to the sales of the knockout roses. We have some hollies, some China girls, and we also have the boys. You got to have a boy along with a China girl in order to get flowers, in order to make it work out for you. We have some crepe myrtle right now. We have some red ones. I'm going to try to get some different varieties of crepe myrtles I've seen advertised from one particular landscaper or one particular nursery, and they're supposed to be more reblooming type varieties. If they measure up to what they say they'll be, they'd really be a nice plant to have, and I hope to get them in shortly. We're also looking at several other things, maybe out of the shrub line, some hibiscus, which is a perennial hibiscus, and we're looking at some dinner plate hibiscus if we get a hold of them. This is a threadleaf right here. This provides a nice yellow color, I think, to a lot of landscapes. A lot of people like it, and it's kind of slow growing. You could trim it, and you want to keep it to the height you want, but it does take a long time for it to grow. We have, of course, the boxwoods. We have them. This is the green velvet, the boxwood. They got a little burn on top where they got frosted a little bit this winter, but that will go away, and they'll be quite nice plants. We also have the wintergreen, which is another type of boxwood, and it's a little shinier, bigger leaf and all. We have several trees that we have, the maples and the pin oaks, and we have some trees that are fast growing, some are slow growing. And one thing that we have done is we've lowered our prices on about everything really, and we have gone to a no guarantee system. I realize some people might say, well, you got to have a guarantee on a tree. Well, a tree is a living thing, and a guarantee is kind of really hard. If the tree is alive and doing well when you buy it and you take care of it, you won't lose it. That's been my experience, and I think that if you do that, you'll be a lot better. And by not having a guarantee, it'll make you a little more conscientious buyer and taking care of your stock or your plants. I know that sounds kind of harsh to some people, but that is the way life is in that respect. Now, we have some oak leaf hollies. These are big rascals, but that would be something that would do well in the corner. They're 140 without a guarantee, and they're really, really a nice tree. It's something, or it's sort of a tree. It's not really a big tree. It's just more of a bushy type product. Now, we also have other things that will go ahead and do well. This soft touch holly grows to about 2 to 3 foot tall, and that makes a nice accent plant in your landscape if you want to use it. We have Althea, which are different colors. This is a purple one, and they have different colors on them that you can get. Now we have some arborvitae over at that end. We also have some magnolia trees, and we got good prices on them. This tree here is just it's a seedling, and instead of it's a Bloodgood, but it's not. It's just a standard seedling, and it costs $15, and it's quite an inexpensive tree, and it'll grow about 15 feet tall. We do have the regular Bloodgood, which is grafted, and that costs quite a bit more, of course. Now up here we have several pine trees. We have a good selection of pine trees. These are white pines, and I think that a lot of people like to use these as screens when they, for whatever reason, they want to have a fence along their property line or whatever. They want to use that, and they do very well. Would like to thank you for listening today to the Country Place Greenhouse Show. We're located on Highway 55, directly across from the Lebanon Springfield Airport. Have a good day.